Hello.
Hi, you made it. Yay. It's
Yes,
working. This
I
is
am here.
excellent. So we're going to be talking about protection tonight.
Bummer
And
tea.
see, I didn't grab my tea because I've been drinking way too much water and I don't want to have to get up and use the restroom in the middle of our conversation. So
Fair,
I have
fair.
that. But yeah, so 1 hour of conversation, we'll be talking about all of our various topics that come through and answering any questions for anyone who has them. This is your first time on live in the dual format. Is that correct,
It is,
Dimitri?
it is. So I'm guessing it's similar to TikTok and how it would just load up on the screen with the comments below and everything. I'll just be able to see them.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's exactly like that. So we'll both see them. I'll keep track of stuff now because this is going to be eventually converted to a podcast once I get off my ass and do some shit. Um, then, I mean, because there's editing and all sorts of other things that
hmm
have to happen. So once that I put that there, so every time that there's a question, we'll read the question out and talk about it. So yeah, wonderful. People are showing up. This is great. I'm really excited. So this
Yes.
is um, the topic of protection is really important. A lot of times people um, will, there's so many different approaches to that. And I know that this was something
hmm
that you brought up as the topic that you wanted to bring to everyone because you've been experiencing a number of different questions via TikTok about that. Is that correct?
Yes. It's mainly amongst my clientele and everything. Is that sometimes they would have an issue. Obviously, I would give them the guidance that they need, and I'm like, don't you know the basic protection for this? I'm not trying to sound condescending, but this is common sense. Okay, this needs to be brought to the masses.
Yeah, and I don't think we can ever say that something such as this is common sense, given that we live in a society that is very oriented to dismiss the spiritual realm. So we as practitioners, this is the space that we live in most often, and we always are acknowledging that we need to be aware of protection. But for
hmm
folks who, I mean, looking at all of the witchcraft books and conjure magic and various books that exist where people are looking for information, protection is a tiny little portion of that. We don't even, and I've tried to find proper books to recommend to my clients,
hmm
and there's trash. There's not many books that really touch upon this that can give people the information.
Well, then that just means that someone needs to sit down and write a book that is like strictly on protection.
There is one by Ted Andrews that
hmm
I think is quite good. There's also another one by Anastasia Newt
hmm
that is also very well. It's a spiritual protection in the unseen world, and then the other one is psychic protection, the Ted Andrews one. But
hmm
I think there's room for another, and I don't have time to write that shit. So maybe you got to write that.
Maybe. I mean, I'm about to have a lot of time on my hands and everything. I mean, like literally, what is it? 2 weeks, 2 more weeks, and I am liberated of my main job, and my focus will be my spiritual practices, services, and just my general goal, spiritual growth and happiness in life. So
Well, maybe also too, as another thought, we could talk about collaborating on that because we do work really well together and we do come from
we
very
do.
different backgrounds, and
hmm
but yet they're very well intertwined. So
hmm
something to talk about. We could restart our weekly, you know,
Yeah,
read book
for
group.
sure. For sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
awesome. So how would you like to get started? Like, what is the first thing that you like to tell people when we're discussing the idea of protection?
Well, mainly when it comes to protection and everything, because one thing I notice is that some people already walk for protection, but because their own thoughts pollute their protections. That's the main
Mm-hmm.
thing. Like for example, I had this discussion with my mother one time a couple of days ago and everything, and she wakes up every single morning and she prays Psalm 23, which in Hoodoo is known for protection. You use it for protection, self-protection and everything. But the thing is, every time when something happens, she starts to doubt her protections. And I had to check her and be like, Mom, you realize that your own mind, when it comes to your protections, weakens your protection. You need to orient yourself properly.
And that's one of the biggest issues in magic in general, but be it protection, be it manifestation of something that you desire to bring into your life. If you put forth the energy to accomplish that, to actually bring it to you, and then you begin to doubt and you begin to play against that and think of what you don't have as opposed to what the universe is going to be giving you and what you're going to be receiving, then you are in essence shooting yourself in the fucking foot,
Oh yeah.
so yeah,
Very
absolutely.
much so.
You have to believe. And, one of the things I know in my spiritual mediumship work that I've done is going into spaces and confronting energy that is, in essence, maybe not fond of me. We'll put it like that. I have to believe in my defenses and and be present, because the minute that I start to doubt and fear gets in there, the negative energy, I hate to put labels on shit, but that energy that is opposing me is, starts to feed off that and try to amplify that. So
It basically it basically breaks down your protections from the inside out.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, and that's something that most people are not aware of. Granted, in my personal practice and everything, everyone has spirits that walk with them, elevated ancestors, some higher spirits, angels, guides, things like that, that look over you and at times favor you. And at times, even though if you might not ask, they could step in and throw you a bone and help you out and everything and be like, okay, you're not dealing with that. Okay, but it's not all the time. If you're not putting in the work, it's not going to be all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
We are responsible for making sure that we're constantly nurturing that connection. And one of the things that I tell people about those spirits that are present for us, be they ancestors, guides, guardians of any sort, is that that's a relationship. Like any other relationship, if you nurture it, if you feed into it, if you put your energy forth there, not just asking like, hey, help me out with this. They're not here to just do our bidding. We have to nurture that relationship and create that space. So, however, like both of us have our own altars for that particular function to, show our appreciation and
oh
let them
yeah.
know, and essentially just begin to have that conversation. I do a lot of journey work, dream work, and just talk to them,
Oh
and you
yeah.
can have a relationship where you can correspond with them in, whatever way possible.
Especially when it comes to ancestors and especially having the ancestral protection on a daily and everything. I tell people all the time, like the ancestor altar is great and everything, but your first altar is your body and everything. Just you speaking, they hear you through your blood and whatnot. One thing I always recommend to people is that when you wake up in the morning, do appreciate your ancestors and ask them for their daily protection and guardianship and blessing and everything. Like nurture that relationship. You can sit there and nurture yourself, nurture your body and take care of yourself in various different ways and treat your own body as an altar, your own mobile altar. And that in turn will feed your ancestors through yourself. The altar is just a physical manifestation for the internal work that you're doing with yourself. So it's like, nurture that relationship, ask for their daily blessing and everything. Sometimes they're off helping up other family members. So,
Yeah. I mean, I try to be mindful of not always being in the space where there's always an ask. I don't want there to always be an ask. I want to, interact with and share that energy, so it's not just me always saying, hey, can you help me in this space, or hey, will you bless me in this moment. I want to also be a blessing. So
true.
I think that's really important as well. That's one of the reasons that we give offerings on our altars.
True,
So
true, true. I mean, one of my many ways is having the Bible open. on my altar and everything, on the verse that is for whatever I need, it's perpetually there. So they know what I'm working with. So it's always going even when I don't ask. That's
Mm,
just that's
mhm,
just that's just the old hoodoo way of doing it and everything. Some people get fancy and put a lock of their hair in the Bible and close it on the verse and everything and stuff like that. I mean, it's different families do different things.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Whatever is, that passed down. And there's something to be said for the intentionality and, the practices that are handed down because of the fact that, first of all, your ancestors, they know and remember that shit.
Oh yeah.
And second of all, a practice that is repeated through the bloodline over and over and over again is
hmm
really important because it just creates that connection. It deepens that connection.
Hold on
Absolutely.
1 second.
Did you see a question? Oh, oh, so many people popping in. It's great to see you all. Remember, if you have questions, feel free to put
Let's
them in the
see
comments,
here.
and
I
we
don't
will
see any
definitely.
questions popping up on my end. I'm seeing a
No.
lot of hellos and everything. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Oh, I feel weird about the Bible except the Psalms since I left Christianity. Well, Mystic Mango, especially when it comes to hoodoo practice and everything, the best way to see it is that it doesn't matter if it's the Psalms, it doesn't matter if it's Isaiah, Deuteronomy, Genesis, Numbers, Exodus. It's a spell book. You don't have to look at it through the eyes of Christianity. It is a spell book.
Well,
And
one of the things that, I'm sorry.
oh no, no, you're
Like
good.
the way that we normally talk, we're always bouncing off of each other. But one of the
Yeah,
things that
that's
I
true.
see is that, when you, I think there is that period of time where, after you have left a certain, path or you're not walking in that space anymore,
hmm
you can there's just a lack of comfort. And if you're not feeling that comfort in that space, and you're absolutely right, it is a spell book. But
hmm
if you're not feeling in that space, any mantra can work, or anything that really brings you to that space. I've actually used lyrics of songs that embody exactly what I'm feeling and what I'm needing in that moment, um,
hmm
and what I'm trying to create in my intention.
I mean,
And
words
I've
are
used lyrics as
spells.
songs, exactly. And that's something that has a tune to it. It's something you can repeat over and over again that will run its cycle in your head.
hmm
And, the Egyptian people
hmm
in Kemetic practices,
Ooh,
to speak
Cometicism.
it is to create it. To write it down is to give it form. So
hmm
it doesn't matter what it is.
hmm
If you have, it doesn't have to be the Bible. It can be.
Well, true. It's just from an ancestral practice and everything. From what my ancestors, they were Christian and everything, going back and everything before they became Christian, hiding their practice under Christianity and everything, is what they recognize. So when I use verses from the Bible and everything, it's a key to them be like, we see that, we know what that is for. Okay, we're going to work with this. And it bridges the gap. It connects my personal Ashe, my personal power, to the Ashe of my ancestors. And then it's just just a symbiotic working because they understand what I'm doing. I can speak words of power all day that's not related to the Bible and everything, but it's like how to say speak their language, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, I will say though too, the the people who are helping us, that are working with us in spirit.
hmm
Yes, I fully grok what you're saying and resonate with that. And at the same time, I know too that because they have chosen to work with us in this space, they also understand um, uh, our intention and our heart line and what we are putting forth. So I think that,
Well,
you
that
know.
goes with the difference between elevated and unelevated ancestors. Because the
Yeah.
elevated will they be like, oh yeah, you do you, baby. I have my own personal opinions, but we're here to guide you for the betterment of you. Unelevated is like, no, you have to do this. It's like
But well, I'm not working with the unelevated. I'm not, trying to like. I'm working to heal the unelevated and help them to attain a higher
Yes,
space.
that's
You know what
true.
I'm
There
saying?
was a question that
Yeah.
popped up. Would being
Yes.
non-binary interfere with practicing hoodoo? No. No, it will not. honestly, in my opinion, me being intersex, having that like sacred androgyny, honestly, in my personal opinion, it empowers my work further. Because in hoodoo practice, there are some things that only women can do and not men can do. That's the reason why they say always fear the granny conjurum woman. Because not only do they have experience, but they understand the power of the blood and also the womb. And that is something fierce. You never want to bark up that tree, let me tell you. So being non-binary does not interfere. It actually marries the masculine and feminine aspects of hoodoo practice together in one being a lot more seamlessly to be able to do more, in my opinion.
I agree with that 100%. I know that in nearly every magical and spiritual practice, I mean, from Hermeticism to, Hermetic magic and whatnot, there is the idea of the duality and trying to balance those poles. And so being non-binary, you walk in the center. And so we're all trying to find, we all have the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine within us, no matter which, what pronouns you're choosing and what you feel most comfortable with, it is within you. So I definitely believe that,
Oh yeah.
polarity, it's there. We find that balance within you, and yeah.
Oh, definitely for sure.
So
But
when we're talking about this is Tea and Tarot show, so maybe we'll throw in a little bit of tarot for the moment. The practice of protection when doing readings for people, that is something that you and I do. Not sure that we approach it in the same way, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
for example, my basic setup when it comes to, oh, you're welcome, no worries. The way I set up for like doing readings and everything before anything is that I do set up I consecrate the ground, I consecrate the space and everything. That's the one thing I do first at all times. Make sure the space is consecrated. Okay, well, not, I don't do that first. My first thing is that I put protections on myself and anoint myself and make sure that I am cleansed and pure. Then I go and I consecrate my space and make sure that is set. And
Speak a little bit on how you consecrate your space.
consecrating my space, as in I will get my rosary, and I will open up the Bible and everything, and then I will call my ancestors, my elevated ancestors and everything, and I will ask them to be with me to pray over the space. I even walk around with anointing oil, like holy oil and everything, as I sprinkle it on the ground as I pray, just setting up the ground, like consecrating the ground in which I am going to be doing readings at, even at home and everything, calling in my ancestors, asking them to be present and everything and whatnot, and to pray with me and be with me. Set up the space and like literally anoint the four corners and let that be it. And then I go from there. But my first layer of protection is always myself, wearing like protective charms and everything, like, because I like to anchor my work, like anchoring and tethering, that's part of protection. I love to make sure I have my protections anchored to a physical object. The reason why is because if it breaks in any way, I know someone tried it.
As I feel personally, and we have had this discussion before, so you already know where I'm coming from with this.
Oh yeah.
I will never use an object as an anchor for my protections. My protections are within me and around me, and I'm calling in my people and then creating that space. Now, I don't open myself to that person directly. Yes, there are a few questions that are popping up, and we'll get back to you. Just want you all to know that we have seen you. But I feel that when we anchor to an object, that creates a space for a certain amount of dependency upon that. And I know people not who have gone into a situation and been like, oh crap, I don't have that one charm, I don't feel right in this moment, or this isn't going to necessarily work for me. And I think that once you get to a certain space where you're doing readings for other people, you've got to be able to find your peace and your protection without any tools other than whatever
yeah,
you're
for
using.
sure. I mean, I use physical anchors for my protections and things like that. That way it's like, okay, all I have to do is just feed it like every once in a while and everything, and it's there. I just have to throw it on. I could go. If I walk out the door and I don't have it, I'm like, okay, let's set up my own shields and everything with my like set up my wards energetically. Boop 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 boop. Okay, let's go and function throughout the day because we're human, we're forgetful. Sometimes we could forget like that one, like let's say that I had a mojo bag that I made for protection and everything, and I put so much work in it, and it's like one of the best protections I ever made and all that stuff. And I'm in a rush and I'll walk out and I forget it and everything. It's like crap. If I'm already out, I'm not going to turn around and go back and get it and everything. I'm just going to sit there and just, let's find my center, put up my energetic wards, pray for my protection, set it up, let that be it.
So then, just to you know, so then if that is the case, isn't it just easier not to have the that object? Or what is the what difference does the object serve?
It
That
makes it makes no difference. It just means that me personally is that I could be lazy at times, and sometimes I don't want to bother. I don't want to bother recalling in and everything. It's like if I already put in the work to anoint, empower, and like feed a object to be my anchor of protection, I'm just going to take that with me because I'm fucking lazy. I don't feel like praying every day sometimes and this, that, and the other
Mhm.
and everything. Sometimes I don't feel like having to stay focused on things left and right and everything and whatnot. And even if I mentally like tether a word to a different place of power or within a different place of myself, I don't want to have to sit there and like wonder about it, worry about it, this, that, and the other. I'm like, I'm lazy.
Yeah, see, I pretty much once I practice protection all the time, and I used to, and when I have students that I'm teaching protection and shielding to, I say that
Hmm.
you practice it every day, practice it in a safe, peaceful environment where you do not feel threatened at all, so that it
Hmm.
becomes something that's just easy for you to spark up and
Hmm.
have, even in moments when you do start to feel that stress. So if you are creating that, making that a habit, making that something that you can easily pop into. Yeah, we'll get to those questions. I saw
Yeah.
them. Yeah. But
There was one long one that I'm keeping in mind and everything. So,
yeah. Okay. But if you do that, if you get that space, right, where you are doing this regularly, and you can pop into that, then
hmm
it's really important. I mean, then it just becomes easy to be in that realm
hmm
without having to um, uh, pop it up when you need it. So you have
hmm
to make that
I
almost a
mean,
muscle memory type
that
aspect.
is true.
And
I mean,
so
it's
I
similar to,
don't I
you
don't
know,
actually do any of the like creating the corners or walking around like you do. My ritual is just to sit down, put up that sphere around myself and call my people in. And every reading before I do it, I say one little prayer to like take my bullshit out of it, because we have to protect our people from whatever shit we might be going through that day. I don't want my ego involved. I don't want
hmm
whatever bullshit I have. I just want to be a conduit for the information that the person in front
hmm
of me needs. And so I say my little prayer every single time, like, take my shit out of this and help me
yeah.
to give that person exactly what they need. And then I do the reading.
Oh, yeah, true. I mean,
So,
it's like with if anyone's familiar with anime with Demon Slayer and all that stuff, it's like learning total concentrated breathing. In the anime, total concentrated breathing is like